All right, I have a word from the Lord specifically for one of you today. Okay, how do you know it's from the Lord and it's for me? I'm so glad you asked. I know because God woke me up at 4 a.m. this morning. I mean, wide awake. And I could hear his voice in my head over and over repeating one sentence. He kept saying to me, don't let what's wrong with you stop you from worshiping what's right with God. Please catch what I just said. Don't let what's wrong in your life prevent you from worshiping what's so good about our God. You see, God kept speaking that to me over and over. And I've said this line 1,000,000 times in my sermons. But then I felt it so heavy on my heart that God was saying somebody needs to hear that message today. You see, right now, you may be in a position where you love God. You want to spend time with him. You want to pray. You want to worship. But you feel so guilty. You feel so bad for the things that you've done in your life. Or maybe you even feel guilty because you haven't been spending much time with him and you know you should. You feel so overwhelmed in your circumstances. And now it even feels pointless to take it to God because you've missed it for so long. But here's what I want you to understand today. Your position in God's eyes has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with Jesus. You see, to be righteous means to be in right standing with God. But the Bible tells us our righteousness is like filthy rags. None of us are righteous. But the good news is Jesus, who knew no sin, became sin so that we who knew no righteousness could become the righteousness of Christ. Think about it like this. If you're behind on your rent and you owe your landlord for 3 months and you see him at Walmart, what are you going to do? Oh, there's my landlord. You're going to do all you can to not be in his presence, am I right? Because you owe a debt you currently cannot pay. And you're ashamed of that fact. But what if you're actually paid up on your rent? You paid 3 months in advance. And now you see your landlord, what are you going to do? Hey, Tony, how you doing, my man? The faucet's still leaking, my brother, and that's on you. You might want to come over and fix that. It changes things, doesn't it? When we know we're in right standing, it gives us a confidence that we wouldn't have otherwise. So now let's apply this logic to God. Let's say you spend 5 days in the Word of God every single day. You only listen to worship music and watch The Chosen. You're praying for others, helping other people. If you've spent 5 days like that, what do your prayers sound like? Oh, they're bold, aren't they, son? Father, I thank you for your favor and your glory in my life. I thank you that you're healing Jimmy and you're saving Jane. Father, I come boldly before your throne today. When you feel like you're in right standing, you got some powerful prayers, don't you? But now let's look at it the other way. Let's say you have 5 days where you don't spend any time with God. You don't listen to any worship, just Metallica and Justin Bieber all week. You hadn't seen any episodes of The Chosen, you had just been watching Family Guy. And you prayed for nobody this week. After 5 days like that, now what do your prayers sound like? Father, it's me. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry I haven't spent any time with you. I really need help with my rent. If you can, if you would, if you could. I'm so sorry. Your prayer life sounds a lot different then, doesn't it? But let me share some truth with you today. Whether you've had 5 amazing days with God or 5 days completely ignoring him, when you go stand before the throne, God doesn't see you. He sees his son, Jesus, and he sees the price he paid for you. Please understand, your righteousness, your right standing with God has nothing to do with what you've done or what you can do. It has everything to do with what Jesus already did for you. So 5 good days or 5 bad days, you can go stand before him boldly and proudly, not because of what you've done, but because of what Jesus did. You see, the truth is the only thing the devil can really do to you is lie to you and hope that you believe it. Can the devil take away your salvation, your eternity in heaven? Nope. So what can he do? He can make your life on earth hell. And he does that by making you feel so ashamed about what you've done, about missing your quiet time, not spending time in the word or prayer. He will make you feel so guilty so that you don't start again, because he knows your right standing is not determined by you, but by Jesus. He just hopes you never figure it out. But you just did. You see, the devil is terrified of your praise and your worship because he knows there's power in it. So if he can get you focused on what's wrong with you instead of what's right with God, and if that focus causes you guilt and shame, he's just robbed you of your blessing, your freedom, and your peace, because all of those are found in his presence. And we enter his presence by spending time with him, praying and worshiping his name. Yeah, you and I, we're not that great. We mess up all the time. But he is so good. And when you come before his throne today, he doesn't see what's wrong with you. Instead, he sees the price his son paid for you. So let me encourage you today. Don't let what's wrong with you stop you from worshiping what's right with God. Know that you know that you know you are in right standing with God, not because of anything you've done, but because of everything Jesus did for you. I pray this message blesses you today. I mean, considering it only cost me like an hour of sleep. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. And think about that for a minute.
Oh my God. He got bitten by something. Maybe a snake? It might be a snake. Or a spider. Oh my God, that's a big spider. Oh my God. I got the goosebumps.
Gente, por eso es que siempre que estoy cosechando, no me canso de decirles, los racimos hay que revisarlos muy bien. Pucha, me está doliendo duro, man.
He's in so much pain.
Vamos a
I
mirar
bet.
si la araña tiene huevo, porque ella casi siempre cuando está enhuevada es agresiva, cuidando su cría, pero ahí mismo está la cura. ¿Sí? Voy a revisar bien el racimo.
He's gonna look for eggs because he's saying that that's the cure.
Vengan, miren los huevos. ¿Lo miró? Este está enhuevado.
Oh.
Miren. ¿Sí? Ella
The
cuando está
spider
enhuevada
was
es
defending the
agresiva.
eggs.
Pero esta es la cura. Aquí tengo la cura para la mordedura de la araña.
That's the cure. What the heck?
Con las crías que ella tiene.
How?
Entonces aquí me toca decidir en aguantarme el dolor o curarme con las crías de ella. En este caso me toca aplicar el plan B. Primero soy yo. Me está oliendo fuerte, primo.
Do you know what kind of spider was that? ¿Saben qué tipo de araña es esa la que le picó?
Está oliendo fuerte. Miren cómo queda la cura. Muéstrenle aquí la cámara. Miren. Esta es la cura.
Is he gonna eat it? Oh.
Mi gente, ya les sigo grabando un instante. Voy a sentarme un rato hasta que me pase el dolor. Bueno, mi gente, ya el dolor me alivió un poquitico. ¿Sí? Y gracias a Dios fue efectiva.
He's saying the pain went away a little bit
La cura con los huevos de la araña.
because of the egg sac.
Y miren la araña. ¿Sí? Está lista para seguir atacando. Esta es rápida. Vamos a dejarla allí. Dejémosla quieta allí. Y continúo mi camino. La escopeta.
Do you know that the average person does not think? Do you know that thinking is a subject that's not taught in school? You say everybody thinks. Hardly anyone thinks. I remember old Nightingale used to say, if the average person said what they were thinking, they would be speechless. Do you know what we do? We confuse mental activity with thinking. That's not thinking. Listen to what most people are saying. They'd never say what they're saying if they were thinking. Watch their behavior. They'd never do what they were doing if they were thinking. Back in 1981, I picked up a paper from Dr. Lawrence Rampell. Listen to what he said. Thinking is a skill which can be learned just as we learn skills such as typing and playing the piano. Few public schools offer courses devoted expressly to teaching thinking. Rather, we are expected to learn and teach thinking as a byproduct of learning mathematics, reading, history, science, a trade, and so forth. And we do learn a lot about thinking in that way. The trouble is we learn our thinking skills in bits and pieces, and we never put it together as an overall picture. If asked to describe what all is required in order to think effectively, most of us would be at a loss to give a complete account. Thus, we are unable to assess our own thinking skills or systematically teach the skill of thinking to others. Well, it's with your conscious mind you think. This is also we call the educated mind. And I'm going to come back to that because I'm going to show you just how far off track we get with that. Now, this is where our intellect is resident. And it's the intellectual factors that give you the ability to be the creative ability. You say you're created in God's image? Well, that's where the creative faculty comes in. In our intellectual factors, you have perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition. Now, the subconscious mind is quite different from the conscious mind. That's what we call the emotional mind. See, the conscious mind can think, so therefore you have the ability to choose. You literally choose where you're going. Now, the choice may be unconscious, but it is a choice. You have the ability here to accept or reject information. When we see something come on the news about the economy's taking a dive, say maybe for them or you, but not for me. You've got the ability to reject information. Somebody starts to tell you a bad story, reject it. Now think. You have the ability to accept or reject it in your conscious mind. You have the ability to originate ideas in your conscious mind. You can originate any idea you want. Now, your subconscious mind has no ability to reject. It must accept. And here's something else. Whatever's placed in the subconscious mind is going to dictate your world. It really will. And your imagination or your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what you imagine and what's real. So if you imagine something happening and you get emotionally involved, it's actually starting to happen. You may say, well, that's ridiculous. Well, the Wright brothers didn't think so. Ed Hillary didn't think so. Steve Jobs didn't think so. Think about it. Thomas Edison didn't think so. Alexander Graham Bell. See, we listen to them and think, well, they're different. No, they're not different. They're exactly the same as you and me.
Ye are gods. That's what it says. Christ is in you. That's what it says. Christ is not a man. Christ is a consciousness. However, ye are gods made flesh. Yes, it is true. Our bodies are temples, but they exist within the material world. Meaning, our bodies are homes to the eternal soul, which can never die because it is God. But the body, being made of the material world, cannot ascend to divine consciousness because the body is not a consciousness. Therefore, the body is not the mind. Thus, the body is not God. Even still, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. So when you die, your body will go into the dirt and it will transform into something else that will exist within this plane or planet. Soul will do one or two things. It will ascend out of this plane or planet, explore the cosmos or the universe at a God consciousness level, being one with God, never to return to this earthly plane again, or it will reincarnate and descend back to this three-dimensional plane, which we call Earth or Saturn, because the soul failed to do the inner work to ascend to the God within. Let me show you. John 14:12 in the oldest English Bible says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, he that believeth in me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater than these shall he do, because I go to the Father." So let's break that down. He that believeth in me is he that believeth in the ability of the Christ consciousness. He who ascends will do exactly what I do within the Christ consciousness, but even greater. And I'm not coming back because I ascended and don't have to reincarnate. Therefore, I am going to the Father, or true highest divine level of heaven consciousness, to experience the cosmos and be one with God. So just to be clear, we are all Christs, and we are all called to do greater things than the man they called the Christ. The Christ's return is not the man Yehoshua returning to earth. Rather, it is the Christ consciousness awakening from sleep. Let me show you. 1 Corinthians 15:20 reads, "But now is Christ risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept." What does this all mean? Well, death is an illusion of the material world. The material world is Saturn. Saturn is hell. Death is not real, just like nothing of this material world is real. And the only reason you believe it is, and therefore give power to it, is because you have separated yourself from the belief that you are God.
This thing was smoking earlier. You can see the electric charge. Is this electric charger real? What? Oh my god!
What if I told you that there is a dark spell that binds all of humanity? Would you believe me? Or would it maybe confirm some of your suspicions? I'm actually talking about the very weird theory that we live in a giant simulation and that this simulation is actually controlled by the clockwork of the zodiac. And the zodiac being meant to keep human potentiality in check so that chaos doesn't erupt. However, there are some that are called and even spoken to break out of this spell. Watch this. According to the Hermetica, there is actually a way to break this entire cycle, and it is through a little known process called gnosis. Gnosis is when you realize that you and the Creator are one. And when I say Creator, I'm not talking about the Archons, the Elohim, or the Anunnaki gods, all of which are essentially the same, though they come from different mythologies. Their mechanisms are basically the same. I'm talking about actual oneness with Source or Great Spirit. And according to the Hermetica, this illumination is the only way to break the chains of the zodiac.
How do you think you've lived to be 97? Like, how do you think you made it this many years?
I don't know. Because I'm naughty. I eat sugar, I eat butter, I eat things that I should not eat, and I have all my life.
Well, what do you think is the secret? You know, people ask me and I tell them that you pray a lot, you have faith.
I do have faith, yes. I really spend, I cannot end my day without being grateful. I never take anything for granted.
So that's probably...
All right. Part of awakening is also nutrition. And my son Michael here, hi Michael.
Hey guys, how are you?
He actually brought something to my attention that I wasn't aware of. He took some fries and he did an experiment with them. One is a McDonald's one, of course, and the other one is just regular fries from a local company here. What'd you do, Michael? Show us. That is the regular one, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Anything going on there?
No, just cooking it basically.
All right, so he lit it on fire and obviously nothing happened. It was just cooking like a normal French fry should do, right? Normal potato. That's the McDonald's one?
Yeah, McDonald's.
Let's see, I'm curious. Look at that. It's burning like a candle.
Yeah.
Now, that to me is not normal. Thank you for showing that, Michael. That to me is not normal. So I'm going to tag McDonald's here because I want somebody from your corporate office, and I mean from your corporate office, not somebody that works in your kitchens, because I want to know why this is happening. Because to me, this is not natural. This is not normal. And I'm going to be doing some videos on companies and corporations and stuff like that. Because like I said, part of awakening is also nutrition. And if it wasn't for my son Michael, I wouldn't be aware of this. But guess what? You're not going to catch me at any McDonald's anytime soon. Why? Because this to me is not normal. Thank you, Michael. Truly appreciate your help.
You're welcome.
Love and light, no matter what you do, be the greatest you, and don't let anybody fool you. Love and light.
So alchemy is about turning lead into gold, right? Well, in a very reductive way, sure. But why lead? And why gold? But before we get into it, in case you're new here, hi, my name is Ilian. I wrote a master's on alchemy and Jungian dream analysis, a PhD on Palestinian political identity, and I'm a writer, teacher, tarot reader, and cat. Meow. No one is 100% sure where and how alchemy originates. Some of the oldest alchemical manuscripts belong to a man named Zosimos of Panopolis. Zosimos lived and studied in the city of Alexandria in the 1st century, and his manuscripts are largely collections and commentaries on older alchemical texts, some that he claims are thousands of years old. And from Zosimos we get a sense that the oldest alchemists were mostly interested in medicine and metallurgy. But from Zosimos we also know that there were always two strands or types of alchemy. A physical alchemy concerned with material transformation, and a spiritual alchemy concerned with inner or psychospiritual transformation. And the larger consensus is that the practice began in Egypt and is named after the land of Chem, the Black Land, as in the black fertile soil of Egypt that was abundant with gold, correct. There is a lot of historical evidence, though, that a parallel practice was happening independently in China. And whether or not they intermingled or who may have influenced who isn't totally clear. But since these ancient writings and since the work of Zosimos, there has been an abundance of alchemical literary work. A lot of it is ancient Egyptian and Greek work that was preserved and translated by Arab. And after the Arab conquerings in Europe, the practice spread to European. And a medieval European alchemical practice was born with people like Paracelsus and Fabricius and even Isaac Newton. Newton was obsessed with alchemy, but that's a whole other story. So today, alchemy is largely a literary and spiritual practice. And the one thing that remains constant amidst the thousands of tracts of works and writings and writers is that alchemy is the philosophy of transformation. It's a philosophy that attempts to understand the science and art of change. And the ultimate transformation in the alchemical practice is that of turning lead into gold. Why? Because lead is the most base of metals, and gold is the most high. And as we know, the highest is of the lowest, and the lowest is of the highest, right? Or the more commonly mistranslated, as above, so below. And lead is the most base of metals because when it's put under heat, it becomes poisonous. To ancient alchemists, this meant that lead was wrought with demons, because when they would put it under heat, they would start breathing in the fumes and losing their minds. Lead represents a person possessed in unconsciousness, a person ruled by their demons, whereas gold, on the other hand, is virtually indestructible. Gold doesn't tarnish, rust, or burn. Gold can be melted and remolded into infinity without losing its integrity. Gold is more or less immune to entropy, which is why Jabir ibn Hayyan, one of the earliest and most famous Arab alchemists, said that gold must be a symbol for the soul, specifically the soul awakened to its own indestructible quality. Gold is soft and pliable. Lead is hard and dense. The Emerald Tablet says that the gentle and subtle overcomes the gross and dense. The Tao Te Ching says that the soft and pliable bends and overcomes, while the hard and brittle breaks and dies. So when you find yourself in a triggered or reactive state, you can ask yourself, am I being hard and brittle? Am I being possessed by my own demons? Am I in my lead era, or am I bending? Am I melting and keeping my integrity intact? Is it an inner child wound, or is it holy rage? And I'll be honest, sometimes it's not that easy to tell.
This is how you can make people think you have some kind of superpowers. Works every time people freak out. You're going to take the cards just like this. You're going to have someone hold them, so you don't even touch them. Ask them, cut off a small portion of cards and put them in the middle. They can do this a few times. So they cut some off the top, put them in the middle. Put some off the top, and they put these anywhere they want in the middle. Now what you do is have them spread through and ask them to take one card out from the middle somewhere. They're going to take a card out, and this is going to be their card. They look at and they remember it. Now what you do is have them put this card on top of the deck and just ask them to cut the cards. Now at this point, if you want, you can look away so you can't see and just say keep cutting the cards, and they really can. They cut the cards over and over again. And when they're done, you take the cards back, put them on the table like this, and you can again ask them to cut. They're going to cut the cards wherever they want. They cut them, they complete the cut. And again, they cut them, they complete the cut. Now when they've done this, you just take the cards, put them on the table, and you haven't even been watching at this point, so you're not following the card anywhere. But if you was, that would be skill. But you just reach over, take your hand like this, and put it over the deck. Just make it look like you're feeling, and just say the number 10. Your card is going to be in the 10th position. They pick up the cards and they count these themselves. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And look, the 10th card, they turn over, and every time it's going to be their card. Now, this is so simple, people love it. Here's the setup. Start off by taking out any suit, ace through to king, and put them in order. I like to use diamonds because they're less suspicious. I'll put them on the bottom of the pack, just like this, and that's all you need to do. So now when you give the cards to them, remember you don't touch them again. They cut off any amount of cards from the top, put them in the middle. They think they're shuffling the cards by doing this over and over again. But in fact, you're never disrupting that bottom pattern just like this. So now when they go through and they really can take any, I say take one from the middle somewhere, which means they're going to take one from the middle. They're going to take it out and they're going to look at it. Now, when they put this back on the top just like this and they cut the cards, you'll notice this stack now goes above it just like this. So now when they cut these as many times as they want, it really doesn't matter. Now, when I put them on the table like this, I now say let's do it face up. Here you can see there's a diamond. So what I do is I have them cut it a few times, and all we're doing is we're just looking for a diamond. So they cut the cards just like this, and as soon as you see a diamond, that's when you're going to tell them to stop. So just here you see a diamond, you see a 6, and you put it on top just like this. So we know now their card is in the 6th position. So now just turn these over, put them on the deck, and you just reach over. Now act out a little bit, go like this, and whatever number you saw of diamonds, 6, Jack's 11, Queen's 12, and a King's 13, their card's going to be in that position. So they now pick up the cards, and again they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of course every single time you've now found their card. Now people love this, people absolutely freak out, and people think you have some kind of superpowers. And if you want to keep learning more insane tricks, just like this, I post new videos all the time, all you have to do is hit follow.
Jesus said, "In my Father's house there are many mansions, and if this was not true, I would have told you so. I go to prepare a place for you."
This is the solar death ray, and it can melt rock, so I wanted to see what would happen if I actually aimed it at the earth. In other words, I aimed it at dirt. The secret to the power of the solar death ray are these concentric lines that gather all the sunlight that hit them and concentrate the light down to a central bright spot. There was so much heat generated by this concentrated light that it turned the dirt into boiling lava. This lens is so efficient at gathering light, it creates a shadow underneath with a central bright spot. The intense light created such high temperatures that it melted the dirt into glass. I allowed the solar death ray to melt into the surface of the earth for quite a while, and the results were interesting. After 30 minutes, a swath of melted dirt had formed on the surface. I disengaged the solar death ray by removing the lens so I could take a closer look at the dirt. As I removed the light, I could see a glowing spot and then the obsidian that had formed. As the earth rotates and the sun goes across the sky, there's a melted line that goes in the opposite direction. I chiseled the melted dirt up off the surface after it had cooled, and it looked a lot like what happens when lightning hits the ground. Totally rad.
Let me give you a little wow, my friends, can you believe that? It's incredible. What a good vibes experiment. Now, my friends, thank you very much for watching all this way. God bless you abundantly. And just in case if you have noticed something have happened and it has gotten a little bit dark, my friends, you see here the electricity guys, the company in charge for supplying electricity. Sometimes they just do things and everywhere is blackout. But that will not stop us from spreading love and good vibes and even feeding spiritually, my friends, you see, so that you might always be energetic. Now before we wrap up, let's feed a little bit from the book of wisdom, book of knowledge. Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Good vibes word from Hebrews 11 from 1. God bless you, my friends, and with faith everything can happen. even your life can be set well by God. Let's give thanks to God for this far. Dear Lord, King of Kings, Father, mighty Counselor, all glory and honor belong to you, Father. Thank you for where you have gathered us here, Father, since the beginning of the video to this moment. All glory and honor belong to you, Father. May your kindness and love always overflow our lives, Father. Guide us through everything and forgive us all our sins. In Jesus' mighty name, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. God be with you, my friend. Till next time, peace and love. Bye bye. I have been Y311H.